newly released surveillance video shows the moment 23-year-old Irina Zarutska boarded the CATS train at the East-West station. She sat down in front of a man identified by police as DeCarlos Brown. 4 minutes later, he suddenly pulls out a knife and stabs her multiple times.
Just hours ago, police identified Luigi Mangione as a strong person of interest. Police say the 26-year-old from Maryland had a written 3-page note about the insurance industry that could point to a motivation and mindset for the shooting. Police also recovered a gun, a silencer, and a number of fake IDs.
Thursday night, Phoenix police investigating an officer-involved shooting near 16th Street and Buckeye. An investigation that comes less than 12 hours after another shooting involving police in the city.
It does weigh on them and weigh on us heavily. We signed up for this job, but this is not something we want to do. This is not a desire for any officer going to any scene.
A mass shooting at a Mormon church in Michigan has left 1 person dead and 9 others injured, including children. Police say the shooter rammed his truck through the front doors. At the same time, a large fire started at the church.
What are you doing? Why are you so mad? I didn't do anything.
You did.
What did I do?
Walk.
I haven't done anything.
Walk. Do not come back.
Watch out.
You come back, I'm gonna smoke you, dude.
Really?
Yes, really. I'm gonna smash that camera.
You have DHS watching you right there, lasered on you. You have a sniper lasered on you right now.
Last night I got assaulted and I immediately ran to a Portland police officer, hunted down the suspect, chased her through the streets. Portland police refused to come in and make an arrest. Imagine my anger when I go online after doing all of that about an hour ago and I see Portland police put out a bolo asking for the public's help in identifying my assault suspect.
So she says that she had the person in her sights, but the Portland police wouldn't respond. But later on, they said, oh, help us find this person. Is that typical of what you're seeing there?
Yeah, the police are not intervening to help the people out there. If they're reacting after the fact that it's happened. And you have the governor who was marching with these people just hours before their big rally they just recently had. And the police, they're not there. They're nowhere to be found. They're not there to protect any of the reporters or to protect anybody. And it is literally lawless.
What's going on, Unfazed crew? Tonight felt like a night for a rant. There were a few different rant topics that I wanted to cover. I was kind of deciding which one I wanted to talk about, but the one that's been coming to mind the most the past couple days has been the topic of vigilante justice. Vigilante justice. We're talking Punishers, we're talking Death Wish guys, we're talking, I guess even the Warriors in a sense. They were more gangs though. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. But what really got me thinking about this was a while back, that poor woman in Charlotte, North Carolina, who was murdered brutally on the train. She was just sitting there, poor thing was stabbed to death. And I thought, man, that is freaking horrific. Not only because of the senseless loss of life, but also because no one was there to help. The people who were there, the bystanders around, did nothing. No one stepped in to help her. No one stepped in to stop the stabbing. No one stepped in to help her as she was bleeding out. Absolutely horrific, just sad. And what's also sickening about that is the negligence of the judges. That monster that killed her was arrested 14 times. 14 times, and that fucker was still loose on the streets. I'm not going to dwell on that one too much, but that was sickening. And in a situation like that, where the judges failed, where the justice system failed, it would have been really nice if there would have been a Paul Kersey Death Wish type guy on that train, or a Frank Castle Punisher type character on that train, or someone with any kind of common sense at all who would step in and try to help this woman. But yeah, so that really got me thinking. And when you live in a city like Phoenix or any major city, you watch the news on any given day, pretty much, and it's horrific. You know, there's always shootings, stabbings, kidnappings, just terrible shit happening. And I think the next logical step when things get like this, when the justice system is failing people, when the police can't be everywhere at once and are getting stretched in a million different directions and are overwhelmed, I think people naturally will start taking things into their own hands. And I'm not over here saying I'm gonna, start a intense neighborhood watch or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying, observing things, observing how people are reacting to these situations, I think the next logical step is going to be vigilante justice. I think it's just a matter of time if it isn't happening already and just not being publicized. I think people are getting pretty fed up with this type of stuff. And like I said, the Charlotte, North Carolina stabbing is just one example. It's one very good, horrific example. But like I said, if you live in any big city, people are seeing this shit constantly. People are seeing this shit go unchecked. And like I said, I know the police are trying, but there are some situations where I think people are going to need to take matters into their own hands. And I was doing a little research on this before I did this video, and there really wasn't a lot of stuff that popped up. When I went on YouTube, even just asking ChatGPT, just looking online, asking about vigilantes from the last 10 years, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of stuff that popped up. There was an interesting one from the 1980s that I read about. Can't remember the guy's name, but he lived in New York City, and he was mugged while on the subway. Classic death wish situation. And the guys who did it to him got off scot-free. They weren't arrested. So he was pissed off about this, and he had a job where he had to be transporting a lot of valuable equipment, a lot of valuable computer equipment. So he went and applied for a concealed carry license, and he was denied. So what he did was he got a weapon like on the black market and kept it on him, made sure he was strapped, and then he continued riding the subway with his valuables. Again, a few months after that first incident, this time when he had a weapon, some guys came up and they went to rob him. Things went south, so he shot all 3 of the robbers. All 3 of them lived, but were obviously very wounded, and this guy went to jail for 8 months, but once he was let out, he was deemed a hero. People applauded this guy because he took matters into his own hands. And obviously that was the 80s in New York, but I think that whole desire for that type of justice still applies to today. And I would say today more than ever. Today more than ever. And yeah, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of that. And there's also another thing, the Guardian Angels. I don't know if you guys know about the Guardian Angels. They were a group of guys that started in the late 1970s who are still active today, not just in the United States, but globally. And they would go around with little red berets and white shirts, and they looked like some offshoot group from the Warriors. A little silly looking, but they had good intentions. Their intention was to go out and stop crime. They would go out with chains and baseball bats and stuff and be these protectors, this gang of protectors. And of course they had some sketchy, kind of iffy situations of them, staging things to make them look good and kind of going overboard in some situations. So I know that's not perfect, but it'll be interesting to see more groups like that come around. But I think with the way things have been going in society the past few years, especially in big cities, I think you're going to see more and more people get fed up and maybe start their own groups like the Guardian Angels, but instead of baseball bats and chains, they're going to have machetes and shotguns. I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm not making this video as like a call to action or anything like that if the feds are watching, but I'm just saying it seems like the next logical conclusion. It seems like if you're paying attention, that's probably how things are going to go. I think. And of course there's people who will say, oh, well, they shouldn't stoop to the level of the criminals. There's always the people in the comment section who are very vocal about how that's a bad idea. And I see where they're coming from too. I get that. I get how people worry about individuals being judge, jury, and executioner can be bad. I get that. Especially if the wrong people are targeted. There's no jury to put people in front of. There's no court system to go through. I get that. But if you look at like the Charlotte, North Carolina stabbing, the justice system failed. And I'm sure that's not the first time the justice system has failed and let a monster loose out on the streets again. So I think eventually you're going to have people second guessing the justice system and not having the patience for the police and they are going to take matters into their own hands. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. Whether it be groups doing it, whether it be solo people doing it, I think realistically you're going to see more solo people doing it. You're going to see guys who are fed up and don't really have a lot to lose. Maybe they have former military training, ex-law enforcement, or maybe they're just dudes who want to make a difference. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. And of course, you're not going to see it publicized by the mainstream media. Definitely, they don't want that getting out there. They don't want to encourage that kind of stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing that trending on social media over time, like within the next few years. Wouldn't surprise me at all. And honestly, it would be interesting. I think it would be very interesting. I love anti-heroes, love the Punisher, love the Death Wish films, but obviously I know it's a little different when it comes to the real world, but it wouldn't surprise me. It really, really wouldn't surprise me. So another thing I want to talk about that is very dark and a sad reality, but something that I want to talk about is how you do see these days a lot of mass shooters, unfortunately. You see a lot of people who just have checked out completely, they have nothing left to live for, and they decide they're so miserable they're going to take other people down with them. That seems to be the case more often than not that we're seeing, and they always seem to target schools or malls or places like that, which is just awful and cowardly, and it's sad because they're taking down innocent people, which I think is horrible. Wouldn't it be refreshing to see some of those people who have completely decided, hey, they're done, they want to go violent, they want to go rogue? Wouldn't it be refreshing to see those people become vigilantes instead of mass shooters? That would be cool. That would be cool if they went down as heroes instead of as cowards, shooting fish in a barrel, bringing people down with them at schools or at shopping malls or at concerts or things like that. And I'm really surprised you don't see more of that. It's just odd to me that in our society, in our modern times, it seems to be, sadly, at least in the United States, very common to hear about mass shooters. But it seems like they're always going after innocent people. I would love to see that flip. If we have to have that, if we have to have that sickening reality of mass shooters in the world that we live in, if we have to have that, wouldn't that be great? If they were Punishers, or if they were Paul Kersey Death Wish type guys walking the streets, taking out the trash, annihilating gangs, annihilating rapists, annihilating kidnappers, annihilating thugs. Wouldn't that be a lot more refreshing? I think it would be. I guess in an ideal world, all mass shooters would become vigilantes instead. But anyway, just some food for thought. This is something I've been thinking of a lot. And I really think that Charlotte stabbing kind of got the gears turning thinking about this. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think about vigilante justice? Do you think with the way things are trending, we're going to see more vigilantes coming out of the woodwork? Let me know. What do you think would be a good solution? Let me know. All right, guys, that's it. Just a little fun rant. I hope you're doing well. Remain unfazed. Have a good night.